7-year efficacy of RTS-A591 malaria vaccine young African children. Introduction. A malaria vaccine could be an important addition to current control strategy, with reported safety and vaccine efficacy of the RTS-AS01 vaccine during 18 and following vaccination at 11 African sites with varying malaria transmission.
Tara Prasad is lead researcher at the Access to Medicine Foundation. How far then are we from seeing Mosquirix being made available to doctors across sub-Saharan Africa?
Next in line for this particular vaccine is a policy recommendation from the WHO, which will help decide how African governments can adopt this vaccine into their national immunization programs.
Right, so that's approval and systems.
Yes, so policy is still underway.
Is it possible then to say with these next steps how soon it might reach a medical practitioner somewhere in Africa?
Well, at the moment we're looking for the WHO policy recommendations to be around, I think it's October this year, and I think GSK has already stated that they expect the product to reach the markets around 2017.
Here's possibly the most important question. Will it be affordable?
That is the best question, in fact. And so GSK has said that they're going to offer it at a not-for-profit price. And I mean, there is speculation around what that price will be. Now, from GSK's standpoint, that is possibly what they see as the best thing they can do. But again, offering it at not-for-profit in no way necessarily means that it's affordable, because it depends on the ability to pay and the financing pressures of the governments that they are selling the vaccine to. So there are already existing childhood immunization programs that countries have adopted that these governments can in fact afford the vaccines.
Now we're talking about this in quite
go through different stages in their life cycle during which they infect humans and reproduce, and therefore the vaccine in effect has to be able to combat these different needs, and it's extremely complicated. So this is a huge
Application imaging. RTS is the most advanced malaria vaccine candidate the world has seen. The clinical testing of RTS is at least 5 to 10 years ahead of other candidate vaccines. RTS is also the first malaria vaccine to obtain a positive dissenting opinion by the European Medicines Agency, a stringent medicine regulatory authority.
Drug manufacturer GlaxoSmithKline is seeking approval for the world's first malaria vaccine after trials in Africa showed it had cut the number of cases in children. Malaria is responsible for the deaths of approximately 600,000 children in sub-Saharan Africa each year. The company used proteins from the malaria parasite Plasmodium falciparum and the hepatitis B S. During trials in 7 countries, the vaccine was a course of 3 injections. Results showed that in children vaccinated between the age of 6 to 12 weeks, the number of clinical cases of malaria by 27% over a period of 18 months. While for those vaccinated between 5 to 17 months, the number of cases was reduced by 46% over the same period. Said, based on the results, it would submit a regulatory application to the European Medicines Agency, EMA.
Pros and cons. The disease affects up to about 14% of the world's population, with around million people currently infected and many in the tropics. It has a high morbidity and mortality, especially in resource-poor tropical and subtropical regions, with an economic worth of about 12 billion annually in Africa alone.
In all conflicts that occurred in tropical regions in the 20th century, malaria was responsible for a greater loss of military manpower than enemy fire. Last month, new findings revealed that naval researchers are getting closer to ensuring that won't be the case in the 21st century. Sergeant Adam Ross has more.
But the fight against the virus may soon be revolutionized by the work being done by Research Center in Silver Spring, Maryland.
We were able to show that in a small sample, we could achieve 100% efficacy with this vaccine. And what that means is that we actually challenge them with malaria infection by exposing them to mosquitoes infected with malaria. And none of the subjects in that group developed malaria.
Present the biggest step toward a true malaria vaccine.
To get any drug or vaccine licensed through the FDA studies. So there are several studies that we're going to have to do. But we're very hopeful and are setting an ambitious timeline of 3 to 5 years to achieve licensure.
The vaccine uses a whole organism approach, where a weakened version of the parasite is introduced to the body. This type of vaccine is
Conclusion. AS01 prevent many cases of clinical and severe malaria. Over the 18 months, Pfizer vaccine dose 3 with the highest impacting average with the greatest malaria incidence. VE was higher in children than in adults, but even at modest levels of VE. The number of malaria cases averted was substantial. RGS-AS01 could be an important addition to current malaria control in Africa.
Evidence is emerging that the efficacy of malaria vaccination can wane over time. The vaccination can wane over time. The potential for an increase in malaria cases as immunity wanes may lessen the utility of malaria vaccines. This phenomenon may be particularly important in communities with high malaria transmission. The authors of this study sought to determine AS01 malaria vaccine. They vaccinated children between the ages of 5 and 17 months and then followed them for 7 years. In this extended follow-up of 4 children to receive a control vaccine, the authors followed children for 7 years for evidence of clinical malaria and infection with more than 2,500 Plasmodium falciparum parasites per microliter. 1,002 malaria episodes. The 222 episodes. Children given the malaria vaccine had fewer malaria episodes in the first 48 months, but more episodes over the longer observation period. Vaccine efficacy thus waned over time, and there was negative efficacy during for children in high malaria exposure areas. The authors conclude that this malaria incident in areas with high malaria exposure. Full trial results are available at nejm.org.